Good morning. I'm Carlos Fernandez, Policy Analyst at the Vegas Chamber. I'd like to thank you all for tuning into our update from the Clark County School District featuring Superintendent Dr. Jesus Jara and the Vegas Chamber President and CEO, Mary Beth Sewald. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to explain some features of this call. And to preserve high sound quality, we'll be muting everyone on the call besides our presenters to make it easier for everyone to hear. If you'd like to ask a question, there are a few ways you could do so. If you're joining this call on the web or through the mobile app, you can ask a question by using the chat feature on the interface. We'll ask your question on your behalf. You can also ask a question by clicking the hand raise button on the interface. We'll call your name and unmute your line so you can ask your question. Once you have asked your question, we'll remute your line so everyone on the call can hear the answer. Remember, in order to preserve time, we ask that you please keep questions brief, and we'll be taking all questions at the end of the call. Now, please welcome Vegas Chamber's President and CEO, Mary Beth Sewald.
Thank you so much, Carlos, and happy Labor Day, everybody. Thank you all for joining us on this bright and early on this Friday morning before the holiday weekend. Dr. Jara, good morning to you. Thank you for being with us as well.
Good morning, Mary Beth. Thank you for having me. Thanks for all of you who are joining me this morning. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we appreciate you being here. We're going to chat with you in just a moment. Before we get to our conversation with you, I just want to thank our webinar sponsors today, SCE Federal Credit Union and the UNLV Executive MB Program. We certainly appreciate their sponsorship and partnership in allowing the Vegas Chamber to bring timely and important information to not only our members, but the public in general, because we are streaming this live on Facebook today. So we plan to post it later as well so that we can reach an even larger audience. So that's really good news. And we appreciate Carlos and his help and Paul Muradkin at the Vegas Chamber for making that possible as well. I just want to highlight a couple of Vegas Chamber programs coming up this month. The Vegas Chamber and the LVGA are teaming up again for our joint Washington, D.C. fly-in. This year we're going all virtual and we're bringing D.C. to LV. So that promises to be a great way for our members to engage with decision makers and policymakers on Capitol Hill. And now more than ever, we need to have a united voice. The DC fly-in is taking place September 14th through the 17th. So if you want to sign up and join us for these conversations, you can go to vegaschamber.com. Earlier this week, the Vegas Chamber announced a new U.S. Bank Coaching and Growth Center at the Vegas Chamber. So that's something that's a new member benefit that we're really excited about at the Vegas Chamber. And we want to make sure that everybody is aware of that so you can take advantage of it. And then we also, on Friday, September 8th, or September 18th, I should say, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be hosting a grand opening for the first of its kind Employ NV Business Hub. That's in partnership with Workforce Connections, Nevada's Department of Employment, Training and Rehabilitation, and then also Nevada's Department of Business and Industry. So we're just super excited about these brand new partnerships, brand new programs and resources that we're able to offer to our members and the general public. So really excited about these things. And then also just a quick reminder about the Chamber's 401k plan, the association retirement plan. That's something that you definitely are going to want to take advantage of as well. All right, so having gotten through all that business, Dr. Jara, again, we are so excited to have you here today. We know that you've been working very hard at CCSD, and we know there's a lot going on at the school district. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us, and welcome today.
No, thank you, Mary Beth. It's a great opportunity really to share a little bit of what we have been doing. As you say, with the team has been doing amazing work and just getting busy, and I know how important it is for your members, our parents, our community, that we have school and update them on where we are and some of our future plans.
Yeah, it is critically important. So with that, why don't you go ahead and give us your overview update and we'll go from there.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mary Beth. Well, as we open school August 24th, one of the things that I always say and I can, share with the community, this is not ideal. This is not where I wanted to be. And I wanted to open up school face to face. But unfortunately, where we are with our numbers and protecting the health and safety of not only of our students, but also of our employees is something that we couldn't do. Nobody wants our kids in our classrooms, in our schools more than I do. But as I mentioned, it's not something that is possible, and really looking at the best way that we could provide a high quality education has been through distance education. We've had some hurdles, and I'll talk a little bit about that, but I know the team has been really working collaboratively with our community. Again, as I said from day one, since I've been here, this community is amazing. Everybody has wrapped their arms around our kids up in our schools to do the best we can. So as of Wednesday, September 2nd, we have, just for everybody to understand, we have 309,668 students that were enrolled in school. That means that we're a little bit down, but as we're looking at our funding numbers, we are on track. We are seeing a little bit of a decrease in numbers, to be honest with you, in the community and our elementary. So we're still working. And one of the things that we see a trend, and we have everywhere, and here especially after Labor Day, we start seeing that we start seeing that enrollment go up. So not too concerned, but really looking at it anyways with our building principals. Our connectivity and our devices, and I know that the Chamber was an integral partner with us in getting our students connected. So we have a little bit over 258,000 of our children that have devices. So that is something that we have been able to work and connect our kids. Working with Cox Communication, great partner, and I know they're a great member here, a staple in this community. 235,266 of our students have been connected to the internet. And using some of our federal care dollars, we have partnered with Cox to provide that connectivity. So all in all, we have reached 274,940 students of the 310 plus thousand. In partnership with the Governor's Task Force and the Department of Education, connecting kids, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about that. We put together a family support center for parents, a one-stop shop for parents to call and connect. And we're still looking for kids. There is an emergency roll call, as we call it. We've been canvassing the community. We have about 43,653 students that we're still pending to connect. That means that they haven't connected through a device and connectivity. I want the members and the public to understand we do have enough devices for all that who need it. Because there are some families that their parents have purchased and community that have purchased Chromebooks. So those kids that we have seen in our books that need a device, we have enough devices to be able to provide for our kids. The 43,000 that we have not been able to remove from the emergency, those are kids that we haven't issued a device and they haven't been in school. So we're trying to find out who they are and where they are. So all in all, moving and transitioning the 5th largest district in the country from a face-to-face, and I know we've had a lot of time to do this and plan, and we've done a great job. Transitioning to a new way of work, online has been a little bit of a challenge, but I think there's, as I said from day one, patience, flexibility, and grace are key. Our teachers, I am so proud of the work our teachers are doing. We got a new learning management platform, Canvas, so a lot of professional development. So we have been able to really look at the instruction and some things that we are excited, in professional development, and I know we can hopefully get to talk a little bit about it. We are offering, and I'll ask any of your members, Mary Beth, in our great partnership that we have with the Chamber, I'll ask any of the members that if we need to do some training for parents on how to navigate Canvas. I know that, we all use email and we all use technology, but how our kids are learning, anything that our parents need, your members, our business, we're willing to offer some of those videos and go through some of the training, because I know for parents it's really important to understand how we're working through this new virtual world. Food distribution, we're still, our food centers are in our schools, through the shutdown, we have served close to a little bit over 5 million meals. The U.S. Department of Agriculture just approved the waiver, so we're going through the details on that right now to analyze that. We have over 300 schools that have been providing meals. So it's how do we now shrink so we make sure that we continue to feed continue to feed our families and our children. So a lot of moving pieces. I say to folks, this is second week of school, so we're learning. but I think, I think we're moving in the right direction. The last thing, so I can answer any questions moving forward, we are committed, and we are, I want to make sure that we're clear that what we're bringing to the board at the end of September is a 30-day update. The board, when we made a decision to go to distance education, was that we would bring to the board an update on where we are, meaning where our health data. And I know that the governor's press conference yesterday, we're still not where we want to be in positivity rate, but we're working diligently. Making sure that we wear our masks, that we're following the guidelines that are set, so we can get our kids back in school. So we're, moving forward. A lot of new ideas, but I couldn't be more proud of the 42,000 employees, and really making sure that we're providing an education for our kids.
Well, Dr. Jara, once again, I know this has been a challenging time for everybody, and it's been certainly challenging for you and your team and the teachers and the students. And so, I want to thank you for all your work and service to our kids across Clark County. We do want to encourage folks to ask questions. You can either chime in by chat, or you can ask them in person over the phone this morning. And so we're looking forward to taking those questions. Dr. Jara, I know that you touched on about 4 or 5 different issues here, and I want to try to get back to all of them. I'm, really want to focus for a second on the Family Support Center and those 43,000 kids who are still yet to be contacted. And so because we know who those kids are, right? There are brown kids or black kids or poor kids, and the ones who need the connectivity the very most. And I want to give a shout out. You mentioned the task force, Jim Maron and Elaine Nguyen, Poonam Mather, and those folks who have really brought this community together to help, because you were doing well before they got involved. You were doing pretty well. And then the community stepped in, and there's been some exponential increases in, I think, from what I understand, in the amount of kids that we've been able to contact. And then with Cox, right, they've stepped up with the Connect to Compete. That I think what they've done, never in the history of their existence have they ever allowed a third party to complete the signups for these kids. So that has also helped our partners over at Cox. So this has truly been a community effort. So I know that you're appreciative of that as well, because we do still have 43,000 kids to get.
Yeah, no, and Mary Beth, I just want to say, I mean, I couldn't be more proud of the work that they're doing, and really the help and support. I know when the task force got involved, and as you're right, the team was working, our schools were distributing devices, but then again, it just the power of this community, right? They came in and said, no more. Our goal, we were looking at, okay, Super Bowl is August 24th, right? The first day of school. We were really pushing, and in a matter of a week, 50,000 devices were distributed, our principals and staff, but then it was the all call from top leaders in the state. And really, as you're saying, that they came in, and it was daily check-ins. So, Poonam Mather, I couldn't thank her enough. We sat together, and then we put together a strike team internally on 3-day meetings, 3 times a day meeting on a daily basis, 7 days a week, to really monitor who was getting devices. And Cox comes in and steps in, and I said, this community, it was like our goal was to get to where we wanted to, and we went from almost a little bit over 100,000 to now where we are. Now we're going in overtime, right? I tell Poonam all the time, we're in overtime, going into second overtime, but we're not going to stop, because the kids that need us the most are the ones that we're missing. These are the kids that are falling behind. And I think, I just thank Jim Maron, Elaine Nguyen, Cox, Derek Hill, everybody, and really getting the chamber, getting the word out for our kids. And it just warms my heart, because our teachers really appreciate it, and so do our principals. So an entire community effort to really nobody stopping until every single child is connected.
Well, and one of the things, Dr. Jara, that I want to get out this morning is how people can connect with you, they can go to connectingkidsinv.org, right?
Yes.
connectingkidsinv.org. And we also have a phone number that we can get out. Is that where you would say is the best place for people to go to help us get the rest of the kids connected
Yeah,
or get information?
absolutely. The number is 1-888-616-2476 and connectkidsnv.org. That is the best place where they can troubleshoot. Now the other place, which is the school, right? And I ask employers, and this is where we have to continue. Do you kids do they have a Chromebook? Because if not, call the school, because we do have them. We've been shifting Chromebooks from other schools that where there's an access to really try to troubleshoot to make it easier for the parents. So the number one spot is to call their school. And secondly is to call the Family Support Center. This is where it's not just the task force. I mean, we also have nonprofits, community and schools has jumped in, all stars, the Boys and Girls Club. So we've allowed, and to your point, a third party to allow to connect kids to connect. I mean, this is where the flexibility of big business with school systems, where we said, let's eliminate the red tape on behalf of kids. And I think we all just gathered and came together to try to connect. So the best place is the school, and then if not, second will be the Family Support Center, because they'll be able to troubleshoot to help the parents.
Okay, great. What is the school district doing right now to try to find those kids? Because I've heard it said social justice doesn't take a break, and neither do we. They're, as you just pointed out, they're the kids who need these services the most. So what can we do? How are you looking to find those kids and identify them?
Yeah, no, we're looking at we're also looking at internally, right? Triangulating the data where we are and who's coming in, and the schools continue to make the all calls. We're doing wellness checks. Our social workers are out in checking homes and trying to find and identify. We did that through the spring. We're continuing to do that as well. You're right. I mean, last weekend, folks were out canvassing in the street. We do have flyers that we're putting out to contact the support center. We'll be doing that this weekend again, getting out into the community, making sure that we can find every single child. Our principals are doing home visits with staff as well. So that work is going on 7 days a week to make sure that we get our kids connected.
Excellent. You talked about training for parents. So for any employers that we have watching us right now, employers, employees, can you talk to us a little bit more about this training? And you talked about how to navigate everything, Canvas.
Yeah. Canvas, all the learning platforms, Google Meets. So no, that's, we have set training, our family and community engagement office, in our FACES department. We're out there. I know we have partnerships we've done with MGM and Caesars and some of the other properties to go in and do some virtual training, because obviously as they're working, they're busy. So there's opportunities. So it helps our parents. Where do you go in and as our kids are navigating through get through their homework assignments and their lessons. How do you also, as a parent, are able to navigate and be able to support your kid at home? So we do have the opportunity to train our parents on our learning management system. Where do you go to get your homework? Where do you check, Infinite Campus? We don't have to print report cards anymore, right? Because now everything's on the website, everything's on the system. So all of these different systems that we have, that we've adopted and using, those will be available, and there's training for our parents, for our members. So anybody who wants to, have our team do a virtual training, let us know, and then we'll be ready and able to do that for you.
Okay, very good. We're getting some questions too about, you touched on the food distribution and 300 schools. Which school sites have food service options available, and how do students go about accessing those programs?
So we have over 300. They're all on our website to let them know. When we started school last week, we didn't have the waiver, so the families, which we're still doing, we have a schedule. It kind of gives you that schedule so parents all they do is just show up with an ID for their kid, and if not, their student ID number, we'll give them a breakfast and a lunch for them. It doesn't have to be their home school. So if a high school student and then they live closer to an elementary school, they can do that. So it's not, you don't have to drive to your home school or walk. So that's why we opened up more sites. In the past, it was specific sites, but we opened up and opened up to a 300. So that is the process that we have. I don't have, all the list is on our website, and it'll be available for parents and for anybody to see where we're serving our meals.
Okay, great. I know that question comes up a lot, and we certainly don't want to see any kids going hungry. So thank you for all your efforts in that area as well. Some of the services, can you talk to us about the services that you're providing for ELL, English language learners and students with disabilities?
Yeah, and I know that, again, this is where our teachers are so innovative in supporting now. We do have, I'll just tell you, we have what we're learning all this terminology. The synchronous lesson is exactly what we're doing, right? So the teacher's teaching and the kids are all on the computer. The asynchronous lessons are where the kids, can go back and then do almost like independent work about what the lesson, right? So it's that process. So then what we have for our special needs students, and then for our English language learners, we do have one of the things that we've opened up office hours, where now our teachers are within their school day. They put out office hours like you do in college, but now it's all virtually, where kids are now logging on and getting that individual attention. And we're doing that as well for our English language learners, for our special needs students. And then the other piece, we are providing our IEP, our students with IEPs, we are providing their individualized education. We're providing, we've redone, kind of review their goals, reset their goals to do it through distance education. And I'll tell you, I've been in some of the classrooms that I'm able to now, kind of going through Google Meeting to so many different schools. And I've been able to see what their teachers are doing. And then you see the kids, you see with the aides, and really supporting our students in different ways. So for our English language learners, we're also doing it, obviously in Spanish, and in their home language, and translating some of their work as well. So really proud of the work that both, not only the departments are doing, but also with our teachers and our building leaders.
So you talk about technology and joining some of the different schools and things like that. Even though it's been difficult and challenging not to be able to go and see the schools in person, has it perhaps helped you in some ways?
It does. It kind of rejuvenates me when you see the kids, and they'll tell you, kids all want to be back in school. They say, Superintendent, can you get us back in school? And I remind them, and it does. It helps me see the teachers, see the kids. One of the things that Mary Beth, as you, and this, as diverse as we are, we do have some schools that are face-to-face. In Moapa, we have some of our rurals, Good Springs, some of our smaller schools that were able to follow social distance guideline, that were able to meet the mandates from the directives 22 and 28. We do have some, and I had a chance to go last Friday to go visit and see the kids, and the kids, you see little guys, our kindergartners with their masks. They're 6 feet apart from one another. They said, can you open up the playground, Superintendent? I said, I wish I can, but you're in school where your friends are not in other places. So it does help me, and our teachers, I've seen our teachers being, and I keep telling them, look, we're going to get things wrong, but just give it a try and just be patient when one of those. So it does help me. It helps me get through the week.
Well, I bet they were glad to see you. I remember that day when we were in Washington, D.C., when you very first started. And at that time, all the kids were gathered around you and clinging to your legs. So I'm sure they were glad to see you. So, so you were talking about some of the rural schools that are doing some things in person. Are there any services in person in Las Vegas, or is everything online in the city?
Yeah, everything right now is online through distance education. We're not having, we're learning from, again, week 2, we're learning from my friends in the rural community, seeing the procedures, seeing the protocols. The principals are eager to share. We're not ready to, we're starting to look to see what possibilities in the near future to plan. once we do that, but we're still early in the process. So everything here is distance ed.
Okay. Getting a couple more questions, going back to the food service. Just to clarify, parents can't pay cash at the site for their lunches, to clarify that. So do they add money to their students' accounts, and can they do that online?
They can do that online. Obviously go through our website. They can go ahead and do that online to make sure that there's meals, that there's money in their account.
Okay. A lot of questions about the food aspect of the whole program. So you also mentioned you're going to go back to the school board and give a 30-day update. Can you go back to that a little bit and tell us a little about what you're going to say to the board?
Yeah, no, we're looking at right now is, obviously the commitment was to, when the board voted on the 90 days, first semester, that we would be distance ed. They also wanted a 30-day update. Now, so, as we continue to monitor our positivity rate, I think it was a little bit over 11% yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. It's given that update, the number of cases we've had in our schools, not only of students, but then also of our employees. That will be some of the updates, and then that we will be providing the board, and how distance education is going. I do have I've had some conversations with the State Department. I did last week, and as I was visiting our rural schools, because they're following the hybrid plan, and some face-to-face. Is there a possibility where others, I know Mesquite, who is doing distance ed, would like to come face-to-face? So where Mesquite is, if they can meet the guidelines, and that was a clarification that the state said, if they can meet the directives the governor's directive 22 and 28, and the board approves it, we'll be able to do that. So it will be an update on where we are, where our health numbers and our data up, and then seeing what direction the board will want to take in the next 30 days after that.
Okay. Speaking of the next 30 days and after that, is that where there will be discussion about what the spring semester is going to look like? And do you think you plan to maintain the current program, or is there any way to know? Do you have a crystal ball?
No, I wish I did. That's what I told. That's what when the kids were asking me, Superintendent, what do you see? I said, well, hopefully we're in a better place. I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. I can tell you, even with athletics, our kids just need to move and be with one another. Our teachers want it the same way. So right now, there's some developments that have taken place. And I'll tell you, so yesterday, the IFC with the legislature voted on for testing for our employees. So there's some money there. So now we're having discussions. Nothing, please, there's no definitive, recommendation moving forward, but what I'm looking at is what would it take for us to open schools, whether it's in 30 days, in 60 days, in 90 days, or in the summer, or in the second semester. We're looking at all these plans and learning from the schools that are open. One of the things that we know for certain, and it could change, right? I mean, we are all dealing with things that are changing constantly. And I know, Mary Beth, you and your team and Paul and Carlos have been doing amazing work. What happens right now that we know in January is that potential athletics will start, right? That's again, right. But depending on the numbers, depending on the health data. So that's something that I hope that we can start school face-to-face. But if the numbers stay as they are, I don't see it. I sit on the national task force with superintendents. New York City's opening up with 1 million kids. But they're opening up, but their positivity, the chancellor, who's a good friend of mine, their positivity is less than 1%.
In New York?
In New York City. So their positivity being less than 1%, but it's a different dynamic, right? Where they are, where we are. He says, I don't recommend it to anybody, but they're gonna give it a shot. So we're gonna learn from him and from what they're doing.
Good. Well, I'm sure there'll be a good litmus test for best practices. Maybe we can learn from them too, or learn what to do and what not to do.
Right.
I mean, we have some questions in the chat as well. This one's from Brenda. Dr. Jara, she's asking, are you going to be offering extra help to parents who are struggling to get all of the schoolwork done with their children things like free tutoring, one-on-ones, things like that. And we hear that question a lot because we've got parents who they're like, oh, geez, I got to get my kid, you know, I got to work, I got to do school. So any help there?
Yeah, you know, the best thing to do is those are school level decisions, and I would say the first thing to contact the school. And I know that, look, I know that our principals and our teachers, where there's extra support for parents, you know, and for their kids, to contact the school, and the teacher to offer that. I would say first thing is, you know, are they going through the what we call the virtual office hours with their teachers. That would be the first thing. And I think that's where we have learned that the open communication with the teacher this way, through virtual instruction, is going to be more important now, more so than before, right? Because I know, so that would be the first step. The second would be to contact the school. And if you're not getting a resolution, then contact the region. I know we're putting our regional offices on the website, the numbers, so then we can help our school and help our parents. That's the last thing that we want somebody to get frustrated because they're missing, you know, a lack of understanding of what we need. So, you know, the school will be the first place to go.
Okay. A second ago, you mentioned the State Department of Education. What are other school districts across the state doing, like Washoe County?
Washoe has a little different, you know, that they are in their elementary, they are face-to-face. You know, they have a little bit different, you know, dynamics there. Their class sizes were not as large as ours. So they are in elementary school, they are face-to-face. And then also, and then middle school and high school, they're hybrid, and or blended learning or online. But their elementary in Washoe is face-to-face. All my other colleagues across the state, the rurals, are most of them are also face-to-face, and they're, you know, they're smaller. You know, and that was part of the challenge. The challenge that we have, and I know that we've been battling this, is a large class sizes and not enough space for our kids.
We mentioned elementary versus high school. What are the concerns different for the parents of elementary students compared with high school?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question, Mary Beth. One of the things that concern me the most, and I'll be honest, is our pre-K3, our little guys being distance ed. They need to be in school, right? And how do we get them safely to school? And that's where, you know, when you really look at our numbers, you know, if ideally a priority in my mind, not that it's, please, not that it's a commitment, but those are the ones that really concern me, that they're home. And if I can find a way to look at, you know, as a trial for us to be slowly, methodically start bringing some of those kids in, would be ideally. But again, the health data and the numbers have to be able to allow us to do that. So, you know, there's a greater need, you know, because they, you know, they're sponges and they learn, and we got to move them, and I don't want to lose them. But those are the ones that I'm really concerned about. Not that I'm not concerned about middle school and high school, because they have different challenges, right? We don't want them out in the community either. We want them focused. We want them in school active. But our where I lose sleep is my pre-K through 3.
Okay. Here's another question. How does the Clark County School Days program work in conjunction with CCSD? They have 13 sites. How do parents access that program?
Well, you know, obviously, and I would tell you, you know, we have their programs on the website. But now this is the other plug. I mean, last week I was able to visit the YMCA, because they have their day program. So please contact and look at our website where we have, because there's still seats available. I was on the phone with the county commissioner yesterday, and there's seats available. So I know they do have, in some cases, scholarship opportunities as well. The Y does as well. So if you have a need where, you know, because I know how important daycare is, right? I know how important, because parents have to work. So I know the YMCA has seats available as well, and they do have scholarship opportunities. So look at our website, and if not, reach out to them, because it's an opportunity for the kids to, and I've seen it, right? The kids are there, they're on their computer, they're safe, they're learning, they're connected to their classroom. It was funny, you know, Mary Beth, just on a side note, I was able to, the teacher was so surprised because I'm walking the YMCA and the kids are on the computer and I'm popping in and the teacher's like, is that the superintendent there? But it was just to see, you know, to see what the kids were doing. And it was great that there's opportunity for our families as well.
Oh, that's great. Good to hear. Well, when the schools do open, is the option going to remain for folks to choose the distance learning, or will they have to go back?
Well, there, you know, those are things that we got to look at. I mean, because you're going to have families that may want to, and that's what we're seeing from across the country. And some of my colleagues, you know, that are in other states, in other districts, that they are continuing the distance education, keeping that choice for families. The challenge then becomes to have enough teachers that are wanting to do distance ed, and so that's one of the things that I think we're going to end up. I don't, you know, no definitive answer, but I think if families are concerned and teachers don't want to, or because of health reasons, I think we're going to have to provide that option.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same type of scenario that employers are facing too. There are some employees who would prefer not to go back as well. So um, when a plan is developed, will it be required to be approved by both the board and the State Department of Education, or kind of what's the process there?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. One of the things that, so the plan that we submitted to the state and that the board approved in July has all three options, right? So it has the hybrid, it has the face-to-face, and it has distance ed. So once the decision is made, when the numbers or health data tells us and allows us, we already have the plan in place. It'll give us an opportunity to pivot back into one or the other. So it'll be a couple weeks, right? Once the decision is made, and we will need a couple weeks to make sure the buses are, you know, we reroute our buses, that, you know, we have enough gas and just prep for that. But so the board has already approved it and we submitted that to the state already.
Well, and speaking of the school buses, there'll have to be sanitization processes and all kinds of, trying to keep kids distanced on a school bus is going to be impossible, I guess.
Well, that's part of the challenge. And when we started this, going into phase 2, which is where we are to date, you know, at first was, you know, we were only allowed to put 14 kids. We went back in and reviewed it and put, you know, set them diagonally. Now we're allowed to put more than, you know, up to 28 students. It becomes a challenge because now you're going to either need more buses or you're going to need, you know, more drivers as well. So it's not, let's just say, open up school, right? We have to get the kids there. And so many kids need transportation. And these are all the different things that really are in a puzzle to open up an entire school system that we have to really play. It all plays into how we open schools. So it's a big puzzle and a big challenge. So yeah, and then how do you keep them safe? How do you keep them away from one another? Is it the bus driver's responsibility? You know, so there's a lot that goes on into making this decision.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of, you know, things that the school district needs, we were talking earlier about all the partnerships. I know that Joanne chimed in the chat and she's talking about Silver Summit Health Plan, partnering with CCSD and providing PPE supplies, like 15,000 supplies, she says, to keep the kids safe. Are there any, if there's anybody out there who has resources, do you need other supplies or things like that?
Well, part of the anything that absolutely they can contact our community engagement office. They're on the phone here with me. Let us know, and then anything. Look, right now, again, I go back to the beautiful community that we all live in. It's really appreciated. So absolutely, we'll take any support. We are working, you know, with the governor's task force, but we'll include it into our community engagement so that we can get it out to school, so we can, you know, anything will be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so any supplies that folks might have, you're taking donations and
Absolutely.
Okay, good to know. Back to the distance learning and the teachers and how that's working. Are the teachers allowed to go to the school sites or for the virtual classrooms, or are they all working from home as well?
No, our teachers are, you know, some, I tell you, this is where it was like right before school started, I did the tour of some of our schools just to see, and our teachers, you know, set up their classrooms just like the kids were coming in on Monday. They were up there because some of them are teaching from their class because they have all the supplies there, right?
Okay.
And then you see it, and you know, and then you have some that because of daycare issues, they're working from home. You know, or their health and their concerns. So we made that optional for if you can do your job from home, then the principal allows them to do that. But we do have, I mean, we have some very creative, and their entire classroom is decorated just like if there was kids. The only thing it's missing, which is a little bit sad, is just the kids in the class.
Yeah. Wow. Well, speaking of the kids, what would be probably the biggest advice you would give to parents and kids today?
Be flexible, understanding. Not all of us, you know, you have some of our kids that are so advanced in technology that you know, you may lose patience with some of us that are a little bit further behind. But patience, flexibility, and over communicate. If you're stressed because you're frustrated with a technology or anything that's going on, just let us know. And then let your teacher know, let the school know, and let us all know so that we can help you. This is all new to all of us. But I think that, you know, just the patience and the flexibility, but then also reach out for help.
Well, speaking of reaching out for help, I mean, on that note, you talked about ways that parents can reach out for help with training and how to navigate things. Is CCSD also offering counseling services for kids and parents?
We are, you know, one of the things that I'm glad you brought that up, Mary Beth, because one of the things that, you know, I want to make sure there's the level of stress. Look, I mean, I don't want, I mean, there's days that it's just tough. It's tough. This is like, you know, 6 months in, and I saw the governor last night in the press conference. I mean, we're 6 months into something that you know, the human interaction with people, right? So we do have for kids safe voice. We're still utilizing that as well, just because we don't see them, and that's the sad part. We're not putting our eyes on our kids. You know, so we do have that social emotional aspect where social workers are working overtime, our psychologists and connecting with families. You know, there's days that I go back and then like, oh, well, we're at it again. It's like Groundhog Day for 6 months. You lose track of the days that you're in. So I could imagine kids. I could imagine kids that and families that are struggling without a job. You know, so we're reaching out, making sure that we check on all our kids, especially those that were struggling when we were face to face, to connecting. And then we're also seeing, and this breaks my heart, but we're also seeing kids that are taking, and I'd say taking advantage of distance ed, that they're working full time to help their family and then doing their homework at night. You know, so our teachers are so flexible with that because they're now working at Albertsons or they're at the grocery store to get a full-time job to help the family, but then they're coming home and doing their asynchronous instruction on their own. So we're very, very accommodating of our families as well.
Well, and like you say, I know that, you know, the rise in anxiety levels and stress and the need for counseling and, you know, the emotional issues and depression and things like that. Have you also seen an uptick in homeless kids as well?
And this may be, you know, some of these numbers that we're finding, that we can't find the kids.
Yeah.
I know that when we do our wellness checks and we see an empty apartment, you know, we're trying to find that information and note it down. I said that I was on the phone with Senator Cortez Masto this week, and I had that conversation with her. Hopefully, with the next stimulus that comes from the federal government, I said we really, really, really need some support with the social emotional for our families, and she understood and get it, and she, you know, she said it passed Congress, in the House, so you know, so she's very receptive and very good advocate for us.
That's great. Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate your advocacy on behalf of the kids and the parents. and the teachers, your entire team. I know they're all working really hard. So Dr. Jara, I really appreciate you being with us today. I want to repeat a couple of the resources that we talked about. The Family Support Center, you can go to connectingkidsinv.org. The phone number there is 888-616-2476. Of course, go to your school, as you talked about, for resources that you're offering there. So Dr. Jara, I just want to thank you again for being with us today. Thank you for all your service. We really appreciate it. Also want to thank our sponsors, SCE Federal Credit Union and the UNLV MBA program, for their generous support. I want to wish everybody a happy and safe holiday weekend and on Monday as well. So everybody be safe. Dr. Jara, thank you again, and all the best to you. And thank you to our chamber members for joining us today.
Thank you, Mary Beth, and thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye.